and seconded by Councillor Yake. The agenda for the April 5th, 2022 Township of Wellington North Rex Park Leisure Committee meeting be accepted and passed. All in favor? Thank you very much. I do not have any pecuniary interest. Councillor Yake?
Nope, none here.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
No, sir.
Great, thank you. You'll have seen the minutes of the previous meeting from March 8th, 2022 in your package. I have a recommendation moved by Dan, seconded by Brian, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee approve the minutes of the March 8th, 2022 committee meeting. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Thank you very much. I have no business arising from the prior minutes. Brian or Dan?
No,
Nope.
sir.
None here.
Great. We'll move on, and Mandy, if you could bring in Nick Hansen from the Optimist Club, that would be great. We have a deputation for a multi-use path. Again, you'll probably have seen that in your agenda notes. And with that, I welcome you and thanks for making the time today, Nick. And I will turn the meeting over to you.
Thanks, Chair McCabe. Yeah, so I'm just wanted to approach the township. The Optimist Club is looking at running a project to get a multi-use court brought in to somewhere in town. Again, we have no idea as to where. We have some ideas, but it's more or less we're just we're doing the groundwork, and we want to bring it forward to the Rec Committee, so you guys can go through the proper avenues and basically help us along. If you guys approve it, bring it to council. But essentially that outdoor rink that we have up in the wintertime, we want to make it into a full-time year-round with a concrete base, those boards up, and kind of a netting or chain link fence around it as to start, but so that it can be used year-round, whether it's lacrosse, inline hockey, basketball, and then the winter time it would be there for flooding. And yeah, that's essentially what we're looking at for a project.
All right, thanks for that, Nick. I think it's a neat idea, and you're thinking in the general area where you put up the temporary arena or the rink right now, or you're open to more suggestions?
Yeah, it's been brought up that that would be a spot, but again, keeping in mind, we would like to work along with the Ag Society as for a location for the arena, like on the arena fairgrounds. So that, again, it brings in different groups, but we don't want to step on anyone's toes. There's been another option that we have thought about, which is possibly maybe up off Walsh Drive or Schmidt Drive, where there's 5.5 acres of land up there. Again, we're open to consideration. The town's growing, and the fairgrounds is getting filled by the minute, it seems. So we're open to consideration, and more or less right now we're just wanting to bring this up and kind of get a ballpark idea and figure out if you guys want to help us out with this or which way we need to go.
And I'll open the floor for any questions if you don't mind, Nick, Dan or Brian. I see Mike is in there as well. Any questions for Nick? Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Thanks, Nick, for for bringing it forward. I think it's always a good conversation to get, if there's interest in from the Optimist Club to get this going. And it's one of those things that I think we put our collective heads together, we can generally come up with a good idea and a good location. The wheels of government often turn very slow, but I think we can again, by putting our heads together and working together, we should be able to maybe come up with something that works. So no, it's a good idea, and then yeah, look forward to working with you on it.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thanks, Dan. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Steve, and thank you, Nick, for bringing this forward. Is the current pad or whatever, the multi-use pad or whatever it's called down there, is it actually will it sustain artificial ice? Like, is it cooled or is it just natural ice?
Okay, so yeah, the pad that we have right now, it's outside, kind of where the Arthur Ag Society runs their barrel racing and whatnot. So it's a sand bed.
Oh, okay.
And it's not at all. We put the boards up in the fall and we take them down in the spring, and they kind of go to the back of the property. Our club purchased those boards 10 or 15 years ago from, I think it was the auditorium, like the Kitchener Odd, when they had the Mem Cup come in. We stepped up and purchased them so that we could have these boards set up every year. So, and when the Arthur Arena was reconstructed, we actually, the floor and the boards, we got a hold of HBI Construction, and we were able to save or salvage some of the boards and glass from them to help fill in the certain areas and maybe rebuild some of the boards. So we've got all the salvaged stuff and we've got the basis of it. Yeah.
So it's just a natural ice surface.
That's right.
Right. Any consideration given to making it an all season, or not all season, but artificial ice, like running some pipes out there or running an ice plant to it or something of that nature?
Yeah, no, right now it'd be just getting a concrete pad down, and eventually, and this is something again in the wayside, it's in the future, but build the rink that it could have a roof over it eventually. And Mike might be able to, I'm trying to think, where is it over by Listowel that has a very beautiful outdoor?
Atwood has
a very beautiful, if you ever get a chance, check out their outdoor pad. It's got a roof and whatnot. And again, this is just beginning stages. It's more or less, let's get if it goes, but let's get a concrete pad down, put the boards up and get some use out of it off the start. And then if we see, that a roof is good and we can get the fundraising for it, then we move. That would be maybe a phase 2. But for now, It's basketball nets. Let the kids play some hockey or inline or lacrosse. And then in the wintertime, we'd flood it. And obviously a roof over it would prolong the length of time that the ice would stay in it, because it wouldn't be in the direct sun. So
right. Now, the reason I ask is Owen Sound has, of course, a pad up in there, Harrison Park, that it has artificial ice on it. There's no roof on it. And the chair of the recreation committee up there goes up and shovels all the snow off. So I'm sure Steve would do the same thing here if we didn't put a roof on it.
Thanks, Brian. Always happy to help, of course.
That's what I'm here for, buddy.
We're open to ideas.
Thanks for that, guys. Are you thinking, Nick, that it would be about approximately the same size as the temporary rink is, like that was just up, or that is still up?
Yeah, it'd be fairly close. I think that's 50 by 100 along those lines. We wouldn't want it much bigger. I don't know if you've seen, but when it snows out there, it's a lot of area to cover and get cleaned off. But again, we're more or less kind of the same size. We need to have it somewhere near a water source. Obviously, again, with the arena, there's the lights there, and the arena, we've pulled the water out of the Zamboni room. So that's more or less some of the requirements we need, is that, easily accessible water and hydro. So
then you'll want, or you're hoping for this year, is that right? Obviously.
You know what? It's not needed to be something that, it's more or less, let's get the ball rolling. Let's get reaching out and get talking. It's more or less, we're taking the first steps here to get things working in the proper procedure.
Okay. Mike or Matt, I saw you guys unlock or unmute. If you have any questions for Nick, go ahead.
Just really quickly, Nick, were the Optimists thinking that as it relates to kind of the surplus dollars that exist from the splash pad, that they would be targeted for this project?
I think we've talked about that we would just use that to go back into something that would be given back. It's more or less the money would go back into rec or local community that we can build something so that all of our money goes back into the community, but it'd be nice to see that money was generated through a rec fundraising program. It'd be nice to apply that back into something back into the community.
Yeah, just for committee, just as a quick reminder, you guys maybe remember, but just in case you don't, when the Optimist raised dollars as it related to the splash pad, there ended up being a surplus at the end of that. So there's about, I'm just pulling up the numbers, just under $12,000 that was raised beyond the overall cost of the splash pad. So Adam at the time brought a report back through this committee, and at this point those dollars are just kind of in limbo, I guess we would say. So I know the Optimists have been looking at other opportunities, so yeah, I just thought I had the opportunity to ask Nick if that was part of the thinking. So
Good, great, thank you. Matt, you had your hand up as well?
Yeah, through you, Chair McCabe, and probably to Nick. Do you envision it being like the, I guess, all-purpose pad in Salem, kind of? Which Salem, like it's Wellington 7 and the road to Waterloo, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, that would be that outdoor private pad, the ball hockey pad. Yeah, something along those lines, or actually in Alma, we call it the Alma Dome, but Alma has their own outdoor rink with chain link fence around it. We could aim for Atwood. We could aim for, I think Aberfoyle has a beautiful one too. I mean, the site is wherever you want to, or what the fundraising is, but I think to start with, it'd be something along the lines of the boards are up, a cement pad, kind of some chain link fence around the outside with basketball nets maybe at one end, or maybe half court, and then there'll be nets there year round, and then kids can decide whether they want to play inline or ball hockey on shoes, or play lacrosse or basketball. So it's like very, very inclusive project that, anyone can use it, wheelchair or able legs. It's very inclusive project, and that's what we want to look forward to.
Great, thank you for that. Alrighty. Any more questions for Optimist Nick or Optimist Hansen? Sorry.
That's all right.
I don't have any now, but what do you see as the next time line for this, Nick? Where do you want us to go with you?
I would kind of like to see, and again, I'm not sure fully on what the procedure is, but I would like to just move forward working with the township. So if it can be recommended, and it's up to you guys, but if it could be recommended that it could go to council, that council could possibly direct the township employees to work alongside with the Arthur Optimist Club on kind of, and I don't know if it needs to be a committee or if it can just be that we're working along, but something along those lines.
Right, kind of similar to the splash pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was just going to suggest, would it be fair to ask Matt to come back with a report on, what this might look like and what it might cost and that kind of thing? Water, hydro, like I think everybody knows what we want it to be, but how do we get that there? That's all. Would that be fair or not?
Yep, I'm open to a recommendation for similar to that.
Well, if that's what you'd like, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we ask staff to bring back a report to this committee as to what the parameters of the project might look like and, potential costs, that kind of thing. In consultation with the Arthur Optimist Club.
Yeah, of course, alongside them for sure. I have not sharing my screen, but Mike, you didn't happen to type that down, did you?
I think he knows what I mean.
Yeah, I think there's a recommendation for us for staff to bring a report back to the next RPL meeting, laying out cost, size, and working with the Optimists in Arthur for the next steps. That sound about right? All right, I will say that.
And if I might, just one more point, and as I was saying earlier, you know, the notion of using natural ice is, you know, I mean, that's great. But if you want to get full use out of it, natural ice is getting pretty tough to keep these days. You know, with climate change and all the rest of it. You know, is there an option for an artificial ice surface there? Maybe that's not even a, you know, maybe that's just completely off the table. I don't know, but I think it would be worthwhile having a look at it just to see what might all be encompassed, because like I said, I know the one in Owen Sound gets a tremendous amount of use. And, you know, if you're going to have ice there, you might as well have good ice. So, you know, I don't know if there's any interest in that or not, but I think it's
worthwhile maybe part of the staff report.
Yeah, exactly.
For the Owen Sound artificial ice and taking it from there. I mean, you wouldn't need the Zamboni and you wouldn't need water out that way at all. You'd only need electricity. And like you said, it'd be last probably a bit longer as well. I don't know what the maintenance of that is, and I don't know if you can play basketball on it or inline on it or not. That I don't know. And maybe that's something that we can figure out through a staff report as well. Andy, thanks for joining us. We're just Nick Hansen from the Arthur Optimist just presented an idea for multi-use pad, kind of, or hopefully maybe in and around where the temporary rink is situated for the winter. So I know you're just getting in on this, but any questions or comments for Nick while you're here?
No, not really. Just the only thing that, and you've probably already discussed it, is around the Ag Society issue in that location.
Yeah, and Nick said the Optimist will be working alongside with the Ag Society for sure, and trying to find a spot for a multi-use pad for sure. All right, any other questions or comments? I guess we don't need to show that recommendation, Mike, do we, or the direction to staff? What would you recommend?
We'll get it in the minutes. It'll be reflected in the minutes, so you guys will see it there.
Okay. All right, well, that sounds good. Thank you very much, Nick, for your presentations. And yeah, we'll look forward to the next couple of steps that we take and the next report that comes back from staff to see where we're at with the sizing and the price and where we can, the area that it can hopefully ultimately go in the end.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Have a good night. All right, moving on. There's the ad hoc committee update. I'm not sure. Someone is Mandy or Mike, or I don't think Sherry is here for that, but
Hi, Chairman.
I see Mandy popping up, so.
Thank you. So
sorry, go ahead.
my apologies. So through you, Chair McCabe, we do not have an update on the ad hoc committee at this moment. We have a meeting with the Mount Forest Aquatics ad hoc committee tonight at 7 p.m. So we'll have some more information at our next committee meeting. Now, just for a point of awareness, Matt has joined by phone. Unfortunately, his internet had kicked out on him, so he is trying to connect by phone.
Oh, okay. Maybe give him a few minutes to see if he can ring through. That's not his phone number at the bottom there, the 509 one. Oh, no, there he is. Welcome back, Matt.
Thanks. Sorry, Chair McCabe.
No worries at all. Just compounds the need for good internet. No, we're just seeing if there was any ad hoc committee updates, and I know there's a meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. I don't have any updates from it. I won't be able to make that meeting tonight, though, unfortunately. So I don't know if you had any quick words on it at all, Matt, or not.
Yeah, no, I think it's still just around the public consultation that's out for the conceptual designs. And I think hopefully we're working towards kind of, what that committee is working.
I think we might have lost Matt again, so we'll hope he's back again. All right, I don't think there's too much of an update from him, so we'll thank him for that, and we will move on to the reports. The Campbell Devore Playground. We have Steve Van Meer, CCPI, President of Park and Water LTD. Thank you for joining us, Steve. And I have a recommendation moved by Brian and seconded by Dan that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information the presentation on the Mount Forest Campbell Devore Playground from Steve Van Meer, President of Park and Water LTD. And I don't know if Matt's still with us, but I will pass it over to you, Steve, for your presentation. And thank you and welcome, and thanks for joining us this afternoon.
All right. Well, I definitely appreciate the invitation for this afternoon and a chance to talk to the committee about the new project at Campbell Devore. Very excited to be working with the municipality again. I think it's a great project, and hopefully we're not going to meet, but we're going to exceed all the expectations that have put forth to us. So I guess maybe the first place to start is to give you a little bit of an overview of our design philosophy and really what we were trying to accomplish by putting the project together. Now, does everybody have do you all have a copy of the rendering in front of you, or would you like me to share my screen? What's the best way to do this?
You can share your screen. We all it was all in with the agenda, but it's
all right. Can you guys see the design that just came up, the 2D?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the project. I've got a 2D isometric here that I'm going to show you. And then I'm going to take you over to some renderings just to kind of give you a little bit better idea of scope and scale of the project. So something that was really important to us when we designed the project was to really try to tie into the requests that were set out in the RFP. And I got to say thank you, because I see a lot of these come across my desk, and whoever's putting together your guys' RFPs, they're very clear, they're very concise, they're very easy to understand, and you really give us an idea of what you're looking for, what makes our job so much easier when we're trying to design. So thank you for that. The whole idea behind the project was really to create a space that's not only compliant to the current CSA standard, so it's going to be compliant to the Z614-20 standard, but most importantly, it's compliant to AODA, and it takes us beyond compliance of AODA and really tries to create a space that's inclusive for all. So we want to create a play environment that is for all ages, all users, all abilities, and a couple of things that we've brought into the mix to make that happen, and a safe and enjoyable environment for all the users. The first thing you'll notice is that we've got some different areas that we've created, and these areas are created based on individual age groups. So if you take a look at the top of the 2D, and I don't know, can you see my mouse hand moving around on there? All right, the area that we've got up there, that little structure you see on the top right, that is the junior unit, and that would typically be geared for ages 18 months to 5 years of age. And through this, we wanted to create an opportunity for looping patterns. So when we're designing for children of that age group, a lot of what we're doing is up the stairs and down the slide. So we want to create the opportunity for them to begin to explore the play environment and start to get used to basically how their body moves and the cause and effect. With all of the equipment that we've put in, we want to make sure that we've got graduated levels of challenge. That's something that's very important. We want to have a beginning, an intermediate, and an advanced opportunity for all the children. And then we know that not all children are going to develop at the same speed. So we've geared it for ages 18 to 5, but that doesn't mean that, as a child begins to develop and explore, that they can't move out into the various other aspects of the site as well. So this particular junior unit, we've got some great opportunity through transfer for the little ones or those with mobility issues to basically to enter onto the little structure. We've got a sliding and climbing opportunities. We've got the ability for a lot of social, creative, and imaginative play. through a variety of different play panels. And some examples of those that I'll show you in the renderings in a couple of seconds here are some musical component as well as some collaborative panels. And then, of course, as part of that, we've also got outside that play environment, we've got the ability for some social cozy corners where you can also utilize some different play panels to create some social, creative, and imaginative play in there as well. Now, if we take a look at what's off to the left of that, I've included what we call our Verve Climber, and this is a unique component in that what it does is it allows for the opportunity for cause and effect, so climbing, children to be able to get the idea of grasp and placement as they move from the ground level accessible route up onto the equipment. There's also an opportunity for break aiding or hanging, so we can create that upper body strength. But more importantly, one of the things that we tend to forget about when we're designing our play spaces is the opportunity for older children to be able to come in and perch. We want them to have a social space where you can have a group of young men or young women that can just sit up there and basically converse and communicate. They still want to be part of the play environment, but once you hit that 11, 12, 13-year-old range, it's just not necessarily as cool to be hanging out with the smaller children anymore. So we want to take that into account. Now, as we go through the site and trying to create more of an amusement style flow of play, we get into the junior structure. In the junior structure, once again, accessible by transfer. We've got a great mix of ground level accessible. We've got components up on the elevated accessible route. So beyond AOD compliance and Annex H. And once again, really focusing on the opportunity for graduated levels of challenge. We want the user to be comfortable, but we also want them to be able to challenge themselves and create something that's going to be vibrant, and it's going to be exciting for them as they continue to grow. Off to the right of the structure, we do have a spinning component. Spinning is really important when we're designing our play spaces. Not only is it fun for moms and dads to sit in there and have our kids spin us around until we feel like we're gonna pass something, but there's definitely a developmental benefit in there as well. We've got some precipitation in there. It also allows an opportunity for children to build some vestibular strength. So you get that core strength in there, you get some balance. And once again, if we're dealing with individual play or group play, there's an opportunity for both. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that when we incorporate these types of components into a play environment, it's also really, really valuable for individuals that may be on the autistic spectrum. And a great example of that is, depending on the severity, when you have a child with severe autism, when they're standing still, it's like the world is spinning, but when they start to spin, it's like the world settles out. So it becomes very calming for them, and it allows them basically to kind of have that opportunity to be in the play environment with the other children, but off to the side. So kind of creates that safe, cozy corner. And then once we work through that, we bring ourselves down, of course, to the swings, which is a playground staple. We've got the ability for 4 individuals to use this at the same time. And for this particular design, I've incorporated 2 belt seats. I've got 1 tot seat for our little guys, and then I've got an accessible seat in there as well. Once again, the accessible seat can be used for individuals who may need that lateral trunk support in the swinging environment, but it can also be used by the average child as well. So it really becomes something that's all ages, all users. The overall site itself is very similar to what I was able to create for the Arthur Optimus's project last season. And we've basically got the ability to have a secure area that's been bordered. So that's going to maintain the engineered wood fiber within that footprint, hopefully stop it from spreading to the outside edges. And based on the recommendation that came through in the RFP, we've actually created 3 access points into this site. So we've got wheelchair access coming in from the junior, the senior, as well as the swing area. And I like the thought process behind that, because really what we do is we allow multiple points of entrance and egress without having to worry about children, necessarily maybe going into a line of play that they may not be comfortable with, the 2-fro on a swing, for example, or, the possibility that they might be taken out by somebody that's coming down a slide or a climber. So a great opportunity for entrance egress in an amusement style flow of play. Now, when we take a look at the overall play component, we're well over 40 components, which is fantastic. The actual height of the overall playground when we incorporate the roofs is 16 foot 7 inches, but the actual designated play height for the children, it tops out right around the 8-9 feet. So the 12 inches of EWF that we're going to have incorporated into the overall site for the safety surfacing is more than compliant to CSA standard. We can actually get you up well over 14 feet with the 12 inches of surfacing. And I think it's definitely something that's going to be noticeable from the surrounding road and park systems. Some of the things that I wanted to talk to on the design, when we take a look at some of the component that we put in, one of the key features, of course, is sliding. Sliding is so important because really it takes our playgrounds to new heights. That's a great opportunity for children to kind of come from ground level, get up into the elevated and come back down to the ground level. I'm a firm believer in when we're designing to incorporate a variety of different sliding opportunities. And I'm pretty happy with this one in that we've got a great opportunity for the little ones, as I said, looping patterns to go up the stairs and down the slide. But as the children grow and they get more comfortable, we've incorporated a spiral slide, which once again, it provides for the amusement style flow of play. It also allows for that cognitive process in the development of play. And then it also builds that upper body and trunk support as well. So we get some balance opportunities. And something else that we've included on the senior unit is also our luge slide. That's a double slide. So that gives the opportunity for collaborative play. We want children to be able to play by themselves, but if they want to race mom, dad, a friend, grandma, grandpa down the slide, they're going to have that opportunity as well, because we've actually got 2 separate bedways. And something that's a little bit unique with this product line is that there's a lot of tactile that's involved as well. So when the children are coming down the slide, they're having the experience of that uncontrolled motion coming back towards the ground. But when they put their hand on the bedway, they're also going to feel some variation in the actual rotor mold as well. So it creates that other sensory opportunity. Another thing that we've incorporated on this design is our tactics tangle. This is a great opportunity for play. It's on the senior structure. We have a swift glider that comes off of the side, but we use a variety of different materials and shapes to kind of give a layering opportunity to the overall aesthetic. But it also provides some endless climbing opportunity, traversing and balancing opportunities for the children as well. So really taking a look at that graduated level of challenge. And when you take a look at the picture I'm showing you on the bottom left here, this is an example of that swift glider. So I don't know if you remember, I'm dating myself a little bit here, but when I was a kid, we used to have the banister rails on the playground, and it was basically 2 bars that came off of a deck, and you would straddle it with your arms and your armpits, and your legs would go over, and you'd basically slide down. The Swift Glider is it's the modern day version of an old school play activity, compliant to current CSA. Can be used basically to work your way down from the elevated accessible route, but there's also opportunity for children to shimmy their way up as well. So you've got the opportunity basically to use it in a variety of different fashions. And then of course, something that I think is so important on all of our playgrounds is the opportunity for brachiating or upper body development. I go to a lot of playgrounds, they don't have these types of components, and it's a shame because there's not a lot of opportunity out there for children to basically build that upper body strength. So we want to create that. What I like about the overhead climber in this particular application is that it's not straight, it's not linear. It's actually got a natural curve to it, or an unnatural curve, depending on how you want to think about it. But what that does is that provides once again, that collaborative play where you can have somebody going on the outside and somebody going on the inside of the curve. It also provides a little bit more challenge as well. So those are things that, we do take a look at when we're designing not only the overall play space, but when the manufacturers are taking a look at creating new equipment as well. With the equipment that's in place, I mentioned an opportunity for a lot of play panel opportunity. And play panels have come a long ways in the last 5, 10 years. A lot more opportunity for social, creative, imaginative play, but also collaborative and the ability to develop fine motor skills through the play opportunities as well. So we're going to take a look at that. So that kind of gives you an overall idea of the layout and how it's going to look if we were flying over top. What I'm going to show you now are some of the renderings that have come across. So as you can see from the overall site, there is a lot of equipment that's been basically packed into a little over 2,900 square feet. We definitely wanted to maintain that amusement style flow of play. And the idea behind that is having a lot of entrance and a lot of egress, whether it's an individual that just wants to try a particular component, or if we're going to deal with children that want to incorporate, grounders and sand tag. Some of the games we played when we were children, they still play those today. So we want to incorporate those. Kids are a little more adventurous. We used to play sand tag. Now I've watched kids play it and they actually close their eyes or they'll blindfold each other and it becomes like this elevated version of Marco Polo. So it's really interesting to watch how children have kind of evolved and elevated the play experience over the year. Gives you a much better idea of how we're transitioning into the overall site. As you can see from the end you're looking at, we've got a couple of play panels down by the junior unit. We've got a shapes panel, and then on the other one on the other side, I believe, and I can't see it in here, but I believe that's a collaborative game panel that I've got over there. But more importantly, on the structure, we've also got a lot of variety and play on there as well. We've got the chimes, we've got a braille panel. So, we're taking a look at that educational component. The color schemes that we're dealing with when we're talking this particular design were to try to tie into the, the town colors, which are more of a dark green and a yellow. But the really nice thing with the color is that it's overly subjective. You can really change the look of a playground by changing colors. And I took it upon myself to produce another rendering because I just wanted to see by changing the color of green how it would look. And I'd like to take a second to show you that as well. When we take a look at the overall structure and you take a look at the variety of play that's there, you'll notice that I've also tried to incorporate different types of play and activity between the individual components. So we aren't just doing an overhead, we're actually going to do a traverse. We're going to have some balance and some opportunity for climbing activity coming from the senior structure, for example, on the 6-foot deck, down to the overhead component that you can see has that nice bend in it. We've got a great transitional point where the user can basically reconnect and collect themselves before they move over to the power pipes. You can do it on the lower level, you can work on the medium, or you can take yourself right up to the top and try to shimmy across. And then of course, bringing you to the tactics, you can choose to come back into that experience, or you can go down that swift glider and basically go find another element for play. So a lot of opportunity for a variety of different play, really encompassing the ideas of climbing, sliding, swinging, spinning, balancing, and then of course break-eating, which is that overhead action. The other thing that you'll notice as well is that we do have some roof style component on the play environment. And that's important because I heard the conversation you were talking about with the rink, and climate change was brought up. And let's be honest, I mean, our days are getting a little bit warmer, it's getting a little bit hotter. We want to have the ability to provide a little bit of an opportunity for shade on our structures if that's something that the children are looking for, or it's a great opportunity for the caregiver to basically stand in the shade and oversee the play environment while the kids are playing. So we do have the opportunity, a couple of different styles of shade. We've got the basically on the senior unit, I've got the Solus toppers, which are a little bit more aesthetic and modern. And then on the junior, what I've done is I've incorporated the Niso, which is a little bit more, I think it's a little bit more whimsical and still has that nice modern effect to it. All right, so that kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking for on the design parameters. It basically really wanted to incorporate those 6 key elements of play that I just mentioned that I think are intrinsic to the healthy development of children through play, and hopefully trying to create something that's going to not only stand the test of time and provide 20, 25, 30 years of longevity for the municipality, but also create enough engagement for the children that they're going to want want to come back to this site time and time again with their parents, and not only from the municipality of Mount Forest, but hopefully from some of the other surrounding communities as well. We're really hoping that it's going to help become a destination site for the township. So that's basically what we were able to put together for the group. Do you guys have any questions or comments on that? I'd love to hear your feedback.
Well, thank you very, very much for that, Steve. I know the agenda package that we had was good, but to hear everything explained so professionally by you, and the excitement in your voice with this information is makes me wish I was young again and could actually use them and not be sore the next day after. And they've come a long way since the mirrored slides that would just literally burn the skin clean off when I was young. But no, thank you very much for this. It just looks amazing. And yeah, the color, just even the slight changes in the colors can really change the overall appearance and I guess approachness of it as well. So I will open the floor up for the committee to ask any questions of Steve while we've got him here.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve, for the presentation. Very well done. Very informative. Exciting to see. I had two questions. One is, I guess they're both in regards to accessibility.
Yes.
For, let's say, a child that's in a wheelchair or with mobility issues, that type of thing. How does this? I guess the pictures that we see don't show any of that type of you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not seeing anything in here where there might be a child in a wheelchair or that has accessible issues kind of in any of these pictures.
Okay, so yeah, that's a great question, Dan. So one of the things to keep in mind is when we take a look at accessibility in AODA and Annex H, if we follow the AODA standards, I'm going to kind of put it down here as a low-level benchmark. And believe it or not, our legislated standard states that you only have to have one ground level play component for it to be compliant to the Ontario AODA legislation. And we don't think that's enough in the industry. So what we've done is we've taken Annex H and we've gone over and above that. So when we take a look at this particular structure, we don't have ramped access per se for an individual in a mobility device. But one of the things that we do to accomplish individuals being able to get up on the structure is to do it through what we call a series of transfer. And the idea being is that an individual that has the ability to have some upper body strength, they can come up with a caregiver by themselves. They can actually transfer onto the transfer station, and then the steps go up in increments of 8-inch height elevations, which is as per AODA, and they do what's called a bum step up. And then the idea is that once they come up to that elevated route, they can utilize the slides and some of those elevated components. Now, there's always going to be varying degrees of I guess, disability and inclusivity and accessibility. So one of the other things that we try to do is we try to incorporate a lot of ground level components that are really accessed, entered or exited from the ground level accessible route. And that's where it becomes really, really important. So for example, the spinner that you see, they keep telling me I got to quit calling it the toilet bowl spinner, but that's always what it reminds me of. The ability for a user to be able to utilize that, the ground level panels. You can take a look at the picture in the back with the junior structure. There's a gizmo component that comes out that has some tactile and sensory component that an individual in a mobility device could basically utilize, operate, play with. And then the other thing that we try to incorporate as well is the collaborative play and what we call is parallel play. So with the ramped access that we have coming into the site, the ability for an individual in a mobility device basically to work throughout the entire site, we wanted to eliminate segregation as much as possible and create the opportunity where, you might have an individual that's on the chime panel on a deck on one side, but an individual that can be in a wheelchair and using that same component on the other side. So that's something we take a look at from the idea of, I guess, mobility disability, but it goes so much further. We talk about the colors and having bright colors and contrasting colors to work with individuals that have vision impairments. We've got component on here that's going to provide auditory. We've got the ability through the Braille panel to create that collaborative and the opportunity for education. When we're taking a look at the whole idea of accessibility and inclusivity, we really want to try to hit as many of those aspects as possible, with the understanding that we're never going to get it 100% right. We're seeing some great innovations that are coming through the pipeline. We're going to start to see more synthetic poured-in-place rubber surfacing. We have the opportunity now to create ramp structures off of berms. But the reality is, when we start to bring in those types of components, budgets are going to go up accordingly as well. So it's really tough. And that's something that I've struggled with over my 20 years in the industry, to be honest with you, Dan. Taking play space from, we used to have just play activity. Then we created Annex H compliant, but it was in the middle of a field and there was no way to access it. Then we created separate areas. So it was almost like we segregated children by default. And now we're trying to create space that really does try to give an opportunity for all children to play together, but also go beyond the child and also think about the adult and make it more multi-generational as well. So that was a really long answer to your question. Did that clear it up? Did that make it a little bit more concise?
Well, it clears it up to a certain degree, I guess, Steve. I guess I would like to see, we're seeing in the pictures that you're showing us, we're seeing, children of able-bodied children doing these things, climbing and sliding and running, whatever the case may be. But we're not seeing we're not seeing, I guess, the accessible wheelchair mobility device kind of portion in any of these photos.
Right.
We don't see really what is a ramp structure look like. We don't see that. So I'd like to see, I understand what you're saying. I'd certainly like to see kind of that included to some degree in the photos.
Okay.
So that's not photos, I guess, whatever it is,
The renders, yeah.
the renders. And the other thing I wanted to ask too, the base, if I may, Chairman McCabe,
Yeah, please go ahead.
the base is what, wood?
Yeah, the base is what's called an engineered wood fiber. So what it is it's wood chips, but it's not wood chips. It's not what you would considerably or what you would consider as landscape mulch. Basically, what your engineered wood fiber is it's wood that's milled to a certain parameter on size and thickness. They remove a lot of the other organics, you remove the dust and the dirt. And the idea is that over time, what happens is your engineered wood fiber actually creates a mat. And the idea with that is that when we take a look at the CSA Annex H recommendations, is it provides the opportunity for mobility devices to come onto it. Now, I'm going to throw a little bit of a caveat on there, because while it is accessible and it's considerably much better than sand or it's better than pea gravel, the problem with your engineered wood fiber is, imagine you're walking along, or you're a child, you're running, and you turn real quick and your foot kind of kicks out and you create a little bit of a divot in that engineered wood fiber. Well, what happens is then you get a little bit of a depression in there, and that might be enough of a depression that it's not going to allow a user in a wheelchair to basically maneuver across that. So there is a fair amount of maintenance that's involved with engineered wood fiber. On your swings, it's basically, it's going to move out if kids are kicking kicking their their feet. And of course, at the ends of slides and climbers, you can get a little depression in there as well. So we do recommend, as part of the maintenance schedules, that when the operation staff is out and about, they basically do monitor. There's an opportunity to go in and rake. And it is something that has to be maintained like any other surfacing. There are other surfacing components that are out there now. We've got synthetic turf we can use with head impact attenuation. We've got synthetic rubber surfacing, which is like it's like a unitary mat that's almost troweled in. And then of course we've got tiles as well. And each one of those has pros and cons that come with. Surfacing is something that really is becoming more subjective. And I'm going to go out honestly, and I'm going to say that I'm going to predict that probably within the next, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years, we're going to see some changes in our industry and in the municipalities and the standards. And I think eventually we're going to see more playgrounds go in with the synthetic rubber surfacing, and we're going to start to eliminate some of this loose fill material that we're currently using.
Okay, and I just wanted to clarify that question. Is because my concern is, if someone is in a, if someone is in a wheelchair, and let's say a child or anybody that was using that, trying to maneuver a wheelchair on their own in there, or some sort of a device to help people get around, even if it was crutches or a walker of some sort, how would that stand up, and how would they be able to do it? So you have explained it, but it's a concern when we're at this point, we're putting in new, such a, we hope, when we know it's going to be a wonderful facility, but I think there's still some questions that need to be.
Yeah, there is everybody kind of familiar engineered wood, fiber, and poured in place rubber surfacing? Is there anybody in the group that doesn't really understand what that is? Yes, no, maybe. All right, I'm not leaving. I'm just leaving my chair for 1 sec. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'm gonna grab something. We're gonna come into a little bit of show and tell here. So when we're dealing with wood chips, has anybody been out to see the project out in Arthur, the Optimus's playground?
Yep.
Okay, so that's engineered wood fiber. Basically, that's wood carpet. And as you can see, really what it is it's wood chips that's basically milled very, very fine. Now, when I'm talking about synthetic rubber, probably grab the ugliest color I could. I'm going to get something a little bit nicer. It's something that's more like this. And what it is it's basically you have a base rubber. Normally you're 4 to 6 inches of loose rubber crumb. So it's got a little bit of urethane binder just to give it a little bit of cohesion. And then you do what's called a top coat. And this here is an example of the top coat. We've got various different colors. You can go black, you can go a bunch of different crazy designs. And this is a solid surface that basically allows a mobility device to just roll over top of it. You can also go with what we use, which is a shredded rubber. So this is actually rubber. It looks like wood, but it's held together with an aliphatic urethane binder. And what that does, once again, is that basically creates a surfacing that's going to give you that head impact attenuation. So it's fully compliant to CSA, but you aren't going to have those mobility issues. Now, when we take a look at the surfacing on our playgrounds and overall designs in our budget, right now, what we're looking at in the industry for port in place surfacing is anywhere from about $17, $18 to about $22 a square foot for tile and synthetic rubber. And your engineered wood fiber is about 10% of that cost. So we've got some great opportunities where we can bring a lot more inclusivity into these sites. And down in the States with ADA, this has been mandated now for almost 10 years. All of their sites down there have to basically have some type of unitary hard bonded surface, they aren't even really allowed to use some of these loose fills that we're using here in Canada currently. So it kind of gives you a different idea of the surfacing, the applications. We can do it all. It's all available in the Ontario market. At the end of the day, really what it boils down to is cost. Now, interestingly enough, the city of Brampton is starting to use more synthetic rubber surfacing in all of their playgrounds. And when they took a look at the capital cost maintenance allocations, what they realized is usually within about 5 to 7 years, the upfront cost of putting rubber in normally pays for itself in the maintenance. And the idea behind that is that if you've got engineered wood fiber, sand, pea gravel, those types of surfacings, they have to be maintained. So you got to send somebody out spring and fall, they got to be rotor tilled. You got to go in, you got to rake it. This is an organic material, so over time it is going to decompose. You're going to have to top it up. So you're going to save a little bit. Well, you're going to save a lot up front, but when you take a look at that ongoing maintenance and the capital cost allocation on that, you may find that you're going to have a break-even point in about 5 to 7 years. So that is kind of food for thought, you know, as we're moving forward and we're taking a look at other options and other ideas.
Thank you for that, Steve, and thanks for the question, Dan. Just gonna stay in the same conversation with accessibility. And I don't know if I heard you correctly, the gray kind of a ladder over there. And did I hear you say that the AODA, the people can just pull themselves up with their upper body? Is that?
Well,
that sounds horrible to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I've been CPI certified now for many years, and I've seen some really good changes. But when we're talking about individuals in mobility devices, the idea when they do these transfers is that you do what's called a transfer onto it, and then they call it a bum up. So they'll actually use their arms and their shoulders and they move themselves. But there's a couple of inherent problems with that. I mean, what if you have somebody that doesn't have the upper body strength or the opportunity? And then the second thing that I think is even more of an issue and more critical is, what is the comfort level for that user at the end of the day? Do they want to have to transfer out of that mobility device? I mean, that is part of who they are. And
Right.
By having them transfer out, really what we're doing is, or it could be construed, is we're saying that, maybe it's not okay to be who you are. And as a parent, as somebody in the community, is somebody that designs playgrounds, that's not something that I'm necessarily comfortable with. We've got the standards, we've got the recommendations for accessibility, but I will be the first to basically put my hand up and say, what we're doing isn't perfect. We can always do more. And a lot of that is through education.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, no, fair enough. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if someone was to leave their wheelchair or walker or crutches and then use the slide, how would they kind of get back to their
Well, and that's the problem. So you still have to have a caregiver that basically helps
Right.
you from the bottom of the slide. So we have some manufacturing partners now that'll do a transfer at the bottom of the slide. But the reality is that you still have to move from the slide bedway to the transfer, and then you got to transfer back into the mobility device. Is a little bit of a sidebar. We've got some really good information on accessibility that really, it's not product driven, it's more research driven. And that's something down the road. I mean, I would love to basically come in and be able to have a much more in-depth conversation on accessibility and just kind of throw it all out there, because there are some great opportunities. A large part of it is education and really understanding where we want to go with this and where we want to take it.
Yep, that would be fantastic. The research and education, I I don't know everything there is to know about the AODA, of course, and I want to make, and I think Dan and anyone will echo this, is you want to make it as inclusive and as accessible as possible. And it seems like you've done very well doing that as well, Steve.
Yeah. We do our best. I'm the first to admit it's not perfect. We have certain limitations that we have to work with, but as an industry, I think you know, I think with all industries, I think we're starting to get a little bit better with this and we're starting to grow. There's more awareness, which is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
Any other questions for Steve while he's here?
No. Okay, perfect. So the only other thing that I would like to show you guys really quickly, and I got to see if, I just want to show you how color can kind of change the overall view of a playground. So I want you to kind of imprint this in your eyes, and I'm going to, oh, how the heck am I going to do this? I got to remember where I put it. Bear with me. Here we go. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Same picture. All right. So basically it just gives you a kind of an idea of just changing sometimes the shade of the colors. So there was two schools of thought with this. I heard two very strong messages. One was that we wanted it to be bold. We wanted people to see it and basically come into the site. The other is we wanted to maintain the town colors, which was the predominantly the green and the yellow. So I threw some other color in there to mix it up. But what I did on this one was I took just a lighter shade of green as opposed to the darker green, just to show that you can kind of get that little bit of a pop. So don't be scared to play around with the colors a little bit. We haven't actually put this into manufacturing yet, so we still got some opportunity. You have the ability to basically create and make it however you want it to look at the end of the day. All right. Okay. That's what I got for you guys. Really appreciate the time, and absolutely me and the team are looking forward to working with you guys on your new playground project.
This is great. Thank you very much, Steve, and thanks for making the time as well and presenting your presentation to us for the project. It looks great, and yeah, I'm going to be excited to see what kind of colors we come out with and what's chosen, and then the end result.
Sounds great. And when we're on site building, feel free anytime to stop by and say hello. We'd love to see you guys there.
What, speaking of that, what's the timelines for starting and completion?
So right now we're looking pretty good. Burke, they did a smart one. They went out and pre-purchased a whole bunch of steel and a whole bunch of plastic. So our supply chains right now, we're currently sitting at about 8 weeks for manufacture. I figure by the end of May we could be looking at closer to 9 to 10 weeks. But what we're shooting for on your project is if we can get everything kind of wrapped up in the next week here, I figure we'll be ready to break ground middle of June.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got an opportunity to get in here in the middle of June, and I figure we're probably looking at about, with the amount of site work we've got, we're probably about 2 weeks start to finish with the inspections, weather dependent. But yeah, by end of June, we're hoping to have everything in place and open for the kids.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. And yeah, I'll have to drop by.
That sounds great. We'd love to see you there. So, all right, I will I'll stop sharing my screen. And if we have no other questions, I'll leave the room and let you guys continue on with the rest of your meeting.
Any other questions for Steve while we've got him here? Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I would just share through you, Chair McCabe, that the project with Steve was awarded at the previous council. So thanks to Steve just showing options. And I think this committee will have to make a decision as it relates to probably the two color options presented is kind of what I think. And as it relates to, sorry, I'm going on, but as it relates to member Yake, I think the project will be very similar to the project in Arthur. And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, as it relates to an accessibility standard. And we got a inspection from a playground inspector. Like we met current guidelines as it relates to accessibility. Not to say we can always continually improve, but I think we did have a third-party inspection following the project in Arthur. So, you know, that meets a recognized standard as it relates to accessibility. Campbell Devore Park is going to be a big improvement with what Steve has proposed.
Yep.
Operation costs related to wood versus fiber. I mean, we have a budget and I would like to stay with that budget. That means that we replace wood fiber in our parks more regularly than we ever had. And that might mean we're spending, the last 2 years, we spent $25,000 a year to replace wood fiber in a park. It would be easier from my standpoint if we just proceeded with kind of what was put forward in the RFP and what Steve put forward. And it's probably more a question about option 1 that I would call natural green and option 2 that I would call lime green. But there are people on the phone as it relates to that have different opinions about colors and what Mount Forest colors mean. But I think Steve, with the conceptualization that he provided, presented a really good idea of what that park's going to look like. And if you have any questions, I would visit the Optimis's Park in Arthur, because I think it's a pretty good park.
Yep, it is nice.
Thanks, Chair McCabe.
And yeah, thank you for that, Matt. And yeah, it was a great project, and it does look fantastic, and it's well used as well. And it will be this summer for sure.
That's great. I'm glad to
Again,
hear
thank
that.
you once again, Steve, for joining us and taking the time to walk us through this. I think it does look great, and yeah, we'll probably get back to you with some colors, I guess.
Perfect. That sounds great. All right. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So I have that recommendation on the floor, and all in favor to receive this as information. Thank you very much. That was a great presentation.
Chair, oh,
yeah,
sorry, Chair.
No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Through you, Chair McCabe, I guess, does the committee have any direction related to natural color versus lime green? I'm going to summarize that someone on my team who's from Mount Forest thinks it should be the more natural green, and someone on my team who has kids thinks it should be more lime green. And I think it's a different, I think it's, to my opinion, it's really irrelevant. I'm not sure I'm too bothered about either color, but I think it'd be nice to have some direction.
I think they've always said that bright colors are a little bit more inspirational, or I guess eye-catching for youth. I'm of, I guess I don't know how you would say this. I don't see green color all that often. I don't see a huge difference in greens. So I'm almost pretty well colorblind to green. So I'm not a very good one to discuss green colors with. So go ahead, Brian, and you're on mute.
We make the post red.
No, I don't think that wasn't an option that was presented tonight, but certainly
No,
you can
I'm
put
not-
that forward, Member Mills.
I'm only kidding. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. Either green is fine with me. The darker green might show the dirt a little more, but whatever is good.
Go ahead, Dan.
I'd like to recommend the dark green. And if I can get Member Milne to support me on that, then I think that's what we should go with.
I'm always very supportive of Mr. Yake in anything, in any endeavor that he takes on. So I'm good with the dark.
Yeah,
I know he likes to be on the dark side, so that's fine.
I'm fine with that too. Again, I probably won't be using it all that much, but
Oh, you might be.
yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with the color. I think it's going to be used regardless of what color it is, and I hope it doesn't really affect it all that much. But go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Chair McCabe, from a procedural standpoint, I would just say that the recommendation that's on the floor is to go with option 1, which I would call the natural green or the dark green. And I would ask you to get a mover and a seconder and vote on it. We will, it's not written, but we will put it in the minutes based on this conversation.
I think we could probably just do a friendly amendment to that, couldn't we? And add that in that the recommendation is for option 1, which is the natural dark green.
There was no recommendation
No, I just said, that's what I'm saying. We could just amend it to add that option 1.
Yep, you could amend the recommendation that was before committee as it relates to the Campbell Devore Park, yes.
Okay, good. We'll probably do that. And if the first, the first and seconder are okay with that amendment. And sorry, Brian, I did see your hand up there.
Well, that's all I was going to suggest, was we support the recommendation.
Okay. All right. Well, the recommendation is there, and then we'll add the point of using option 1 with the natural darker green paint scheme. Okay, all in favor? Great, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing that and seeing the end results, hopefully by the end of June. So I will pass it over to you again, Matt, with OPS 2022-004 with the recommendation, excuse me, the Rec Administration Assistant recommendation that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive report RPL 2022-004 being a report on the Recreation Administrative Support position, and further that the committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North endorse the Recreation Administration Assistant be regularly report to the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex as the primary place of work. So I will pass that, I will have that moved by Dan and seconded by Brian. And I will pass the floor over to you, Matt.
Yep, thanks, Chair McCabe. My reason for writing this report is really for committee awareness, just that I'm proposing, I guess, a change to move the primary recreation administrator to the Mount Forest and District Sportsplex. I think there's a reason for that in relation to, in Kenilworth, we're getting full. I think there's some renovations that we're working through for the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex, but I also recognize that someone coming from Arthur, who previously could drive to Kenilworth to book recreational facilities, would have to drive to Mount Forest. I also think that we've made huge gains in the last 3 years for online booking, and I think that helps facilitate that. But I didn't want this group or any group hearing complaints that that's going to be more the norm. So I throw that out there just for a conversation. It has not happened at present, but I feel it's a good idea, and I feel that probably there's going to be more office space needed at the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex in the future.
All right, thank you for that, Matt. And I'll open the floor for questions or comments. And I see your hand up, Brian.
Oh, I guess my immediate reaction would be, is this not an operational thing? I mean, council hired this person. They direct where the work gets done. Why are we dealing with it here?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, no, I think fair comment. I think it's something that as their director, I could have proceeded on. I just think I wanted to make this committee maybe more aware, and you guys could take issue to the recommendation because it kind of asks you to endorse it, which maybe isn't, maybe it should be something that just gets decided on. I just think I was doing it for awareness.
Well, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Andy. I thought he was going to, there we go.
I'm not the only one with computer issues.
No, this was the operator issue, not the computer. So
Go ahead, Andy.
just a question of, again, thanks for the information, but just wanted to more fully understand it. Now we endorsed some changes to the entry area, the foyer or whatever at the Mount Forest Sports Complex, with the intent being that this person would use that space as their primary location. I guess was my question, and I guess the follow up to is, is if someone is doing a booking, do we have the capability to accept payment at other locations?
Go ahead, Matt.
I would say we have the capability through you, Chair McCabe, to accept payment at other locations. As it relates to, I think you're talking about the modernization fund, which provided some funding for the Mount Forest and District sports complex renovation, and there's work being done, and there's work being done for a front foyer, and there's work being done, I think, to design some of the upper leisure hall into office space. So this would fit right into that. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm comfortable saying that this position is going to sit at that location Monday to Friday, but that certainly will be an option with the designs that are being done.
All right, thank you, Matt. Any other questions for Matt? Seeing none, I will call the recommendation. All in favor? Thank you very much. Excuse me, moving on, we'll keep Matt on the hot seat and we'll go to OPS 2022-006, the Mount Forest Outdoor Pool and Aquatic Center. I have a recommendation here moved by Brian and seconded by Dan that the Rec, Park and Leisure Committee receive report RPL 2022-006, being a report on the Mount Forest Outdoor Pool and Aquatic Center open house. And further, that the committee agree that the main meeting of the Rec, Parks and Leisure be scheduled for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 at 4 p.m. I'll pass that over to you, Matt.
Yep, thanks, Chair McCabe. So this changes the date of our typical RPL meeting, but also it gives staff the opportunity. We've solicited comments for the end of April, so we feel we'll be able to consolidate them into charts by the May 10th meeting, which will be an important meeting. Yeah, and as far as the public meeting goes, I think it was well attended. I saw a West Gray counselor. I'm not sure I saw a South Gate counselor, but there might have been one there. I'm not sure, I would know. But it was a good event that was well attended. And I think the conceptual designs that are out on the market are, yeah, we're going to get lots of feedback, and it might be a hard decision. Might take us a little while to make a decision, but it'll be good to have all that information.
Yeah, and I think that meeting did go well. I had kind of wished there'd be a few more people out, but you know, that's up to people's level of safety and concern for their own health. So it was as good as we could imagine. And yeah, it was nice to see Councillor Steve from West Gray down to have a look at the concepts as well. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve. And given Matt's geographical location at home, I would think he'd be prescient of him to know who his counselors are, and just, you know, a stone's throw away. But nonetheless, I do apologize for not getting to that meeting. I had intended to go. I had great intentions, but you know, the highway to, you know, that place is paved with good intentions. So I will beg forgiveness, but I'm glad to see that there was some interest. But quite frankly, I wasn't surprised that there's not many out until you say you're going to do something. That's when the fan starts moving stuff generally.
Yep, I agree with you, Brian. And yeah, this won't be the last one either. So I think it'll generate more attendance as we go further for sure. Any questions for Matt? Right. I have that recommendation on the floor. All in favor? Thank you very much. We'll move on to items for consideration, and I'll start with you, Mayor, at this time.
Thanks, Steve. I don't have anything further at this point. Thank you.
All right, we'll head a little bit northeast, and I'll go to Deputy Mayor Milne.
Nope, I don't have anything. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And over to you, Councillor Yake.
None here.
I have none either, and so thank you for that. We'll go to the round table, and I believe we still have Mandy on board with us. Yep, there we go. And we'll take her to her two items, the summer day camp registration and the groundbreaking for the Brent Barnes Memorial Skate Park. So over to you, Mandy.
And thank you, Chair McCabe. So the purpose when we put this on the agenda, the summer day camp, was just to let committee know that summer day camp registration was open. But now, since summer day camp registration opened on Friday at 8 a.m. and we just want to give you a little update. So 15 minutes after opening, one of our sessions was completely sold out with a waiting list available. And wow. Yeah, fantastic. And as of today, so in total, we have 416 spaces available. And as of today, we only have 19 spaces remaining. So very excited about how well our community has taken up the day camp program. And we look forward to running that program this summer.
Wow, those numbers are the number and the speed at which they filled up are kudos, I think, to the program itself, Mandy, and thanks for that. And I think there's a great need for it. And I think parents and the children alike will love to get back out in person and into the summer camp. So thank you very much for that. Any questions for Mandy regarding the camp registration? Great, thank you, Mandy. You can keep going and we'll head on to the groundbreaking for the Brent Barnes Memorial Park, skate park.
Thank you. So Chair Hearn, along with members of the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee, have organized a groundbreaking event for the Brent Barnes Memorial Skate Park this Thursday at 1 p.m. And the intent of putting this on the agenda is to invite this committee to that event, should they choose to attend. So it will be at 308 Tucker Street. So that's at the Baseball Diamonds in Arthur at 1 p.m. on Thursday.
Great, thank you. And yeah, Lisa and I had chatted about that and I plan to be there as well. And yeah, of course, the invitation's open to anyone on this committee for sure. Any questions for Mandy on the Brent Barnes Memorial Skate Park? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mandy. And we will move on. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, Dan, is that okay?
Oh, that's fine, Steve. You're doing a wonderful job today.
I have a recommendation moved by Councillor Yake and seconded by Deputy Mayor Milne that the Township of Wellington North Rec Parks and Leisure Committee meeting of April 5th, 2022 be adjourned at 5:22 p.m. All in favor? Thanks very much, everyone, and thanks for the reports. Thanks for the good questions and concerns and conversation.
Having good roads and being ahead, that's two things tonight, Dan. You're doing great.
We're moving forward over here, Brian.
Very progressive, yeah.